Okay, should be working now. All right, welcome students to the short video for the introduction slides of the Introduction to Green Concept and Philosophy course. I will be making the same slides for both the diploma and also the bachelor course. Just know that there is a difference in the rubric and the difficulty of the assessments, but overall it's pretty much the same structure of the course, which is why I will be doing the same video. So again, welcome. My name is Ibrahim. If you don't know, I am one of the course coordinators for this course alongside Madam Shikin and Prof. Jirez. And this Introduction to Green Concept and Philosophy, it is one of our anchor university courses, which means that we are trying to get all of our students to take this course within their first year of study here, and this should shape how our students, you guys, look at the topics you learn in a way that maybe you have not looked at before. Okay, so we want to teach you all the same sort of traditional subjects, but we also want to give you or make you aware of maybe a more progressive viewpoint of how we should be looking at what you learn. So let me just jump into it. So here are our course objectives. First off, we want to talk about the important issues of today, specifically when we talk about the health of our natural environment and how humanity, society, culture, industry, etc. has affected and is affecting, and how in the future will affect our natural environment. How does humans and how have humans, just by existing, affect the natural environment? And when we talk about the natural environment, we're talking about the whole of Earth, and including its ecosystems and etc. Okay. We also want to specifically talk about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, if you have not heard of that yet, that's okay. That's why we want to discuss them in this class, so that going forward, you know what they are and you keep them in mind when you're learning your theories, concepts, practicals, while you're doing your future courses for the rest of your program. And we also want you to be more aware of contemporary issues, which is just a fancy term for the news, right? A lot of people, especially young people, they don't pay so much attention to the news, whether it be on TV and in the newspapers, but I'm sure you do pay attention to the news that's not on TV and the newspapers, which is now moving towards online, which most people these days get their news online because it's faster. And we want you to be more aware of more news that's just outside of your own life and maybe affects the whole world, what's going on in terms of sustainability of the world, what's going on outside of your field of study, right? Just because you are in FME doesn't mean you shouldn't know about news about science, right? Or people in the science faculty shouldn't not know about news in the culture or the arts, right? So we want everybody to be aware of the contemporary current issues in terms of the earth, and of course by knowing those issues we can discuss them in terms of sustainability and how we can implement our green concept and philosophy into what's going on in today's world, right? And most importantly, I think, and you will have heard this after your first lecture with Dr. Halim, our VC, is we want to, instead of thinking of things the traditional way, which is human-centric, anthropocentric, right? We want to look at all the information we are given from now on from an ecocentric point of view, meaning we cannot look at ourselves or humans as being separate from nature. We have to understand that we are a part of nature, and that all our cities, industry, technology, that is also a part of nature. We cannot live away from it. We cannot live separate from it. And the sooner we realize that we are a part of it, then we will also realize that by taking care of our ecosystems, by taking care of our environments, we are also in the long run taking care of ourselves and also our future generations. So that is kind of the perspective we want to go about in this course, so that in your future courses you will be looking at these things the same way. So here's how this semester will go. First, you will have your introduction by Dr. Halim, the RVC, and if you haven't already, and then we'll be talking about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which will be led by myself and also Prof. Jires. We're going to take a couple classes just introducing them to ourselves and learning about how these goals will create a better future for us if we can achieve them, right? And then we're going to go into the separate sort of topics that is still part of one, but we're just separating them. For example, social thought, social sciences. We're going to look at how the arts can influence sustainability, and how media as well, right, can influence that. We're going to look at the economy and how important how a society's economy is in terms of how people live their everyday lives, and the economy changes how a community lives their lives, and how a community lives their lives ultimately affects everything around it, the environment. And we also want to talk a little bit about climate change, what that is, how it works, how is it related to humans, and we also want to talk about just a brief overview of an ecosystem and how can an ecosystem be affected by humans. Is an ecosystem separate from humans, right? So we want to talk about that as well. We're going to close our before the conclusion, this topic, talking about post-humanism and technology, right? The Industrial Revolution 4.0. Right? We want to talk about how the future is going to look like, and what does that mean in terms of how our Earth as a whole will look like. And I'm going to leave it at that for now, because I don't want to get too deep into any one of these things. You will be learning enough of that. So, and then we're going to have a conclusion. So it does not seem like too much, but it's very broad. Okay, so we need you guys, I urge you guys to go to every single lecture, because they're all important. And if you look at this slide in particular, you see 20%, 20%, 10, 10, 10, 20. So every section has its own weight and value for the assessment scheme, right? So we're going to look at the assessment scheme. So there are 3 forum discussions. So what this means is everything is online on the course networking module, right? So there's 2 types of assessments in this class. There's no final exam. And the first type is the discussion questions via forum. So we're going to have a discussion, but an online discussion about your point of view, and they're going to be on general sort of topics, and we want to get your input and your thoughts, and we want to also read what you've learned from the class, right, and your take on things, because we want this to be a two-way course. We don't want this to be too much of a lecturers lecture you and you're supposed to repeat what we say. That defeats the purpose. Defeats the purpose of the 21st century classroom. So we want to hear from you, and we want to have a conversation, right? So that's what the forum is for, and maybe in the future we can talk about, or you will see it soon. I'm sure you'll see it soon. Okay, we're gonna post our first discussion question soon after your first class and second class. And then we're going to have 4 quizzes, 10% each. Now this is a more traditional of a quiz. They're short quizzes, and they will be done on the CN, and you'll get maybe 2 or 3 tries. and that is going to be your grade on it. So, and those quizzes are specific to the lectures, okay, that have been assigned in this slide. Okay, so the discussion more broad, okay, and they're going to relate to big picture ideas and concepts of the course. Just because it comes on week 1 doesn't mean it's only going to be things on week 1. Just because it comes on week 8 doesn't mean it's going to be only on week 8. These are more big picture questions, right? And we want to test your critical thinking. We want to hear your point of view. And we also want you guys to respond to each other's submissions. That's why we're going to do it open form. Everybody can read each other's responses on the forum, on the wall of the course, right, on the course networking. And they need to be 125 words minimum and 175 words maximum. Any reply less than 125 words will not be evaluated. Any reply more than 175 words, we will only take a look at the first 175 words, right? This is because the classes are pretty big, and this is also because we want you to train on how can you discuss big ideas in the most precise, concise, direct method possible, right? We want you to also work on your English. We want you to work on your writing skills, and to discuss big ideas with a small number of words, that takes some time, and that also takes you to start using bigger words, right? If you're only using simple words, it's going to take you a long time to discuss a big idea. So this will practice your English and debate and discussion skills as well. And your answers must answer the question, first of all. They must relate to what's been discussed in class. They must show a higher level of thought or critical thinking, which means you really just have to be original. We don't want you to copy paste from outside. It'll be very obvious, okay? And you won't get much points for that. And you have to be contemporary. Basically, that means is it has to be modern, right? You have to give your input, compare it to what's going on in today's world. We don't want you to talk about traditional values. You want to talk about today and the future, okay? And make sure on your response to the forum, you give your full name, your full metric number, and you have to do a word count. So that means at the end you have to tell me how many words you've written. The best way to do that is to write on the word first. Write on Word, save your file, then you copy it and paste it on the course networking. Because if you don't do that, your internet might shut down and you might lose your response, and you've maybe spent a long time working on your response and you lose it, and you won't get as good of a response if you have to do it all over again. So make sure you save everything on a Word file first to keep for yourself. Highlight it, look at the word count, then paste it on the discussion forum, give the word count, okay? We're going to do that 3 times throughout the semester, and as long as you answer it within the time frame given, you will get, and if your answer is good enough, then you should be okay. We will come up with a rubric for this soon, okay? So that before you give an answer, you know how you are being evaluated specifically through the rubric, okay? And then again, the short online quizzes, 10% each. That's more simple. That one will be it's very specific to the topics they're assigned for. For example, if we're talking about climate change, the quiz will be specific on the climate change, and we urge our lecturers to post the slides that they use for their presentations on the course networking, so that you always have access to these slides. There's no point in us keeping it to ourselves, right? We want you to have access to everything we give you, and the whole internet is accessible to you specifically, or no, on the discussion questions. Please don't just write from the top of your head. Give some thought into it, maybe even some research into it, what's going on currently that you can use in your answer. That would be great, right? And I know this is only this is not weighted as much as your other courses, but I think it is important for you to think using our green concept and philosophy moving forward. Right? It'll bring you a long way. Of course, we want you to attend as much as you can, so we will be taking attendance. And please sign the attendance sheet during class, because this is the only way we can know you're there, right? If you know you're going to be absent, please have a letter ready. And if you're absent because of emergency, you have to let us know, and we have to keep track of this. We want everybody to be present. So please, if you have any questions, you have to ask it, even if you think there's no such thing as a stupid question. If you have that question, that means 10 other people at least have that question as well. So if you have a question, please email or WhatsApp. I have my email and phone number on the beginning of these slides. You can WhatsApp me, that's okay. I'll try to get to you as soon as possible, but you have to remember we also have other things that we're doing. So please give us at least 24 hours to respond. If we can't respond immediately, before you panic, right? Don't panic. We'll be here for you. We're going to guide you as much as we can. And also, if you're going to ask something maybe after school hours, like at night, after 5, after office hour, that's okay. But please don't expect an immediate answer, because of course we might be doing other things as well. So just be patient. If something is urgent, look for us in our office, right? Before anything, because email and phone number and WhatsApp, that might not get to you, that we might not be able to respond to it right away, especially for driving, or we're not in front of our computer, right? So if you have questions, please ask it as soon as possible, so that we're not rushing at the end. Okay. I hope this was a little more clear for you. I will be seeing you soon. I will be lecturing for this course a few times, so you will see me. And but until then, good luck. Good luck on the rest of your semester. If you are new to UCSF, welcome to UCSF. I can't wait to see you guys around. And before we end, I want to mention that this is the introduction to the green course in philosophy. There will be a green course in philosophy course as well, and that will be in your later part of your program, right? It's kind of a continuation to this, but it's more so, have you been thinking about sustainability? Have you been thinking about the green concept when you were going through your program? And if so, you have to show us how you have. So this won't be the last time we're going to be talking about our green concept, but we look forward to seeing the end product later on in your program. But for now, thank you for your patience. I hope this video wasn't confusing, and I'll post it as soon as I can, and I'll see you soon. See you guys. Thank you.